It really is quite overwhelming in how majestic the Rockies are with, the snow, the trees.
Really dramatic landscapes.
Massive rock faces to caving to whitewater to canyons to go down.
Just such a diverse range of geography and culture.
There's always more to explore. There's always more to learn. There's always more to see out here. They're a place I will never, ever get sick of.
There's no missing the Canadian Rockies. Looking westward from Calgary, Alberta, they form a jagged, mountainous barrier reaching for the sky. The low valleys and high snow-capped peaks create dramatic backdrops at nearly every turn. This natural northern wonderland is why, for over a century, the Rockies have been a popular year-round tourist destination for travelers and adventurers worldwide. While hearing and vision loss may change how I travel, it won't stop me from experiencing the people and culture that make this part of Canada so unique. I'm Alex Smyth, and this is Postcards from the Rockies. The white, wintry landscapes of the Rockies can seem quiet and still. But those snowy slopes have their share of fans. And for over a decade, Rocky Mountain Adaptive have worked to make winter sports like skiing and snowboarding more inclusive. Today's session takes place on a busy, beautiful sunny day at Banff Sunshine Village Ski Resort, high up in the mountains.
I had always wanted to ski, but didn't think I could. Because of my balance, I have spastic cerebral palsy.
I met up with Matthew Corkum, a former East Coaster who now makes his home in Calgary and was enjoying his day skiing with Rocky Mountain Adaptive.
The main adaptation I use is outriggers, so they're ski poles with little skis on the end to help with balance and a little bit of speed control.
That's important. You don't want to go down too fast down a mountain.
Matt really appreciates the philosophy of this organization and its volunteers.
They treat me just like anyone else, but at the same time, they're knowledgeable and are able to make kind of adaptations on the fly when something doesn't go well. I think it's good not only for us to get on the hill, but what getting on the hill does for us is not only boosts our physical health, but our mental health and confidence that we can carry through other parts of our life.
That's so key, and it's often not talked about as much.
It means everything to have an organization like Rocky Mountain Adaptive that allows me to live the Rockies to the full extent, and even more importantly, something I didn't have was allowing children with disabilities to enjoy this. So that just means everything to me.
And the kids that were participating today were having a blast. Kids like 6-year-old Adele, who like me, is partially sighted.
What do you enjoy most about skiing at Sunshine?
That there's lots of different types of ones, like some are flat, some are bumpy, and some are really fast, and I like that.
Do you go off jumps as well, or is that still a bit of ways away?
I like going on bumps, like once you go up and you pop up. I don't like going when you go like, ooh, down.
You don't want to get too much air yet?
No.
No, that's smart. That's smart. I agree with that. Can you tell me a bit about what your favorite part is about working with this adaptive program, that they have the guides that are going to be there to help you with your vision loss and getting down the mountain safely? Like, why do you enjoy that?
That it's one-on-one and they show you different ones.
I wouldn't be snowboarding without a guide, so I mean, seeing you go down those big runs, I don't even think I'm going to be able to do those ones.
Yeah, it took me a long time to go on black ones.
Yeah, you're on black diamonds?
Yeah, I do some.
Every single individual that comes to us is different and unique, and as an instructor, a coach, a teacher, we have to adapt our methods and techniques to suit that individual.
Nick Boyle is an instructor and board member with Rocky Mountain Adaptive.
Part of our training is a thing that we call the AOT, which is Ask, Observe and Test. So as soon as the client walks up to us, we're already starting to do an analysis on how physically able they are they walking well, have they got good muscle control. So it's a constant evaluation, and we don't just do that once when we meet the participant, it goes on throughout the lesson, throughout the program, and we're always adjusting, right?
Today, Nick worked with 9-year-old Natasha, who sings his praises.
Nick is good and he always likes me.
He always, well, that's important too, right?
Yeah.
But do you like him?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's just as important.
The biggest thrill I get is when I see my participants, the people that I'm working with, skiing with their friends and family independently. So for example, Natasha this afternoon, who you met, is going to go and ski with her parents. And the idea that we've gotten Natasha to that stage, that she can ski with her family, to me is the biggest kick I get out of what we do.
We don't look at what you can't do, we look at what you can and how we can use those abilities to make your snow sports experience that much more enjoyable.
Kim Kosman is program manager at Rocky Mountain Adaptive.
We have private lessons, we have multi-week lessons for some of our local visitors. We also have a ski buddy program, so if you are an experienced skier, snowboarder, sit skier, who just needs a little bit of assistance in getting into your equipment and getting on and off the chairlift safely, our volunteer team is happy to support you on that. So lots of different options for getting out and enjoying the snow sports environment.
With sunshine, there is the Great Continental Divide, or Great Divide is it called?
The Continental
which
Divide.
cuts over to the BC side.
Mm-hmm.
Now here may be a bit of a controversial question. Alberta Rockies, BC Rockies, Alberta runs, BC runs, which ones do you prefer?
Well, we've only got a couple of runs that actually cross into BC, so the majority of the resort is here in Alberta. Yeah.
that is a very well stated answer. Yes, there's more availability, but there's still runs in BC.
Yeah.
What should I expect to experience on the mountain, and what am I in for?
So we are very fortunate. We've got some fresh snow. It's a beautiful bluebird day. Saturdays are a little bit busier, so there's likely to be a little bit of traffic up here at the resort. But the nice thing with this particular resort is the chairlifts are a bit spread out, so the people tend to be a little bit spread out as well. We've only got a few areas where the traffic tends to be a little bit denser. And then we're also going to have a volunteer out with us today who's going to be helping and blocking and making sure that we're not going to have too many people cutting into our line of traffic.
That's always appreciated. I mean, for myself, if they get in front of me, I can't help myself if I crash into them. It's their own fault after all, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little anxious about snowboarding. So I asked my new friend for some encouragement.
Well, Adele, for me, I haven't snowboarded in 13 years. The last time I did it, I know, 13 years. I know it's a long time. But the last time I did it was because I had more vision, but my vision kind of deteriorated over time. But seeing you go down those black diamond runs, I mean, if you can do it, I'm sure I can manage a little green run too. What do you think? Do you think I can do it?
You just need to try your best.
With Adele's words ringing in my ears and determination in my heart, I geared up and was ready to hit some fresh powder. Kim offered to be my guide and instructor. She started with assessing my vision.
I'm just going to take a few steps over to your left and just let me know anytime something changes in your vision, okay?
Okay, you're gone now.
Okay. So I'll do my best to stay right in front of you. Obviously, with you being on a board, maybe being on skis, there may be a few moments of like blind spots. But I'll always be within earshot. So you're always able to hear me. At any point, if I yell freeze, what I want you to do is just sit down.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay? All right, that's like our emergency stop.
Sure, yep.
So at any point, if you hear freeze, just sit right down, and then we'll get going again. Alrighty.
The getting going part was easy. The staying up part, however, not so much.
This is gonna be fun.
We're gonna get you down.
Yeah, I don't think I have the balance I used to.
However, a few words of encouragement had me back up on the board and going downhill at an easy pace.
There we go. Nice.
But all good things can't last, and after a bit of a spin and a stumble, I was back down in the snow.
You're pulling one of my moves, Alex!
Frankly, I wouldn't mind Kim's talent to stay upright. Well, I really had no choice but to keep trying since there's only one way to get down to the bottom.
Nice, so the fall line is directly in line with me. So I'm right down the middle of the valley, okay? The walls are gonna go up either side from where I am currently. So try to lift up those toes a little bit, give yourself a little bit more speed control. That's it. All right. We are in the home stretch.
Those words were music to my ears, and I made it down in one piece, no worse for wear. Although it was only one run, I'd experienced a small taste of what Kim and her crew at Rocky Mountain Adaptive do. I could only imagine what a whole day of snowboarding and training would do for my skills and confidence. In fact, I'd witnessed it on all the people I met that fun winter day high up in the Rockies. Coming up after the break, we visit the birthplace of Canada's national park system. When we return, the Postcards from the Rockies. Welcome back to Postcards from the Rockies. The Rockies are a real showpiece for Canada's national park system. Those grand epic landscapes of jagged rock and plunging valleys are organized into a series of protected national parks. None more famous than Banff, which is not only the most visited, but also Canada's first national park. It's hard to believe that such a vast park system started because a few laid-off railway workers stumbled across a cave full of hot spring waters. It triggered a series of events that led to the creation of Canada's first protected national park to ensure public access. These days, although we can't soak in the pools, the location named quite simply Cave and Basin is still there, preserved as a National Historic Site.
For the Stoney Nakoda people, we've been coming here for almost 10,000 plus years.
Heritage presenters such as Dana Crawler, Stoney Nakoda from Treaty 7 territory, adds an Indigenous perspective to the site's history. He was joined by interpretation coordinator Armin Smallboy, Plains Cree from Treaty 6 territory.
Banff originally area was a trade and travel route for different Aboriginals for us. So pretty much like the basin and the cave would be more like a healing area for us, and also a warming area to keep us warm in the winter.
Armin explained why the water is so warm.
Our thermal springs are heated through radioactive decay coming through 3 kilometers into the earth. That and also mountain formation too. And so the friction between the mountains over time also play a role heating up our springs too. And not to mention the natural water cycle that constantly goes through. So as it rains, water gets collected from the earth, recharged, and because of the pressure that's being released from the earth, pushes the water straight back up into 9 springs around Sulphur Mountain.
And did they ever get Sulphur Mountain's name right? The strong, distinctive smell of sulfur hits you as soon as you walk through the front doors.
That is actually hydrogen-2 sulfide that is being released from the basin. It's quite smelly. I was told that it's equivalent to 4 human farts.
Is it bad that I'm going to definitely remember that fact of 4 human farts?
You gotta learn one new thing every day.
I'll admit it, my curiosity was piqued. So I headed down the tunnel and into the cave, to the source of the spring water and the smell. Heritage presenter Chris Kanai from the Blood Tribe Nation met me inside.
We are in the cave. It is actually the only cave on Sulphur Mountain, I believe. There is the beautiful sound of the water, as you can see.
It's quite warm. I don't even need to have my jacket on in the middle of the winter. Like, how warm is it in this cave?
So right now it's pretty stable at like 30 degrees Celsius, but it ranges between seasonal. So it's actually at its warmest during the winter time, then come spring. In the springtime, all the runoff is running into the basin and the cave, so it's cooling it down. And in the winter time, the snow is pretty compact. It's not moving anywhere, and it's just pretty stable.
These hot springs are home to something extremely rare. The Banff Spring snail is only found here and is officially an endangered and protected species. That's why we are no longer allowed to soak in these waters. But in the past, the hot springs attracted many, so much so that the site once housed Western Canada's largest pool. As interest and attention grew, so did the town of Banff, and a tourist hotspot was born. One man was such a fan, he earned the nickname Mr. Banff. Norman Luxton arrived seeking the healing waters of the hot springs and fell in love with the region. He built a relationship with the local Stoney Nakoda people and established several businesses, including the Banff Trading Post in 1903.
This building is an example of what's called Banff architecture, and it's the last of two in the town site, actually in Western Canada.
Karen Garbert owns and manages the Trading Post.
Norman was an award-winning taxidermist, and he was also a very avid hunter. And when he opened the store, he and his brothers did the taxidermy. Hunting was allowed in the park at that time. It was banned in the 1930s. And they were trying to make the store look like a natural history museum so that people would come in the store, they'd look at the animals, and then they'd buy something handmade locally. So the real goal was to sell something handmade by an Indigenous artist. And when my grandfather and my dad took over the store in 1961, they promised Norman that they would not change the store, they would keep doing the same thing. So we still carry Stoney Nakoda goods, but we also carry goods from the Blackfoot, the Cree, and people all across Canada. So that's expanded from the Stoney Nakoda to include other Indigenous groups in the country.
Although Norman had good relations with the local Stoney Nakoda peoples, Karen realizes the store is part of the region's colonial history and is striving to make positive contributions by supporting diverse Indigenous artists and communities.
Like, I'm trying to reconcile.
Yeah.
I really am. I try in my life every day to take steps towards that. Yeah. And I want to support the people who need support. Like, there's so many artists who are so talented. Mm-hmm. I'm so honored to have their work here. And really, they are also happy to have their work here too, because we're working together.
To call the store eclectic would be an understatement. Arts, craft work, souvenirs, and taxidermied animals are everywhere. I was curious, if this was his store, what was Norman's house like? Fortunately, the historic Luxton home is wonderfully preserved by its foundation, and board member Astrid Bell was happy to let me in for a visit.
Norman bought it in 1906, and this house has been lived in for 100 years, 1 century, by one family.
Looking around, you really kind of seemed like you stepped back in time.
Yes, they just kept bringing stuff in, all of them.
Well, I mean, not every house has a bunch of taxidermied heads on the wall, or an intricate horse bridle on the wall as well.
Oh,
so
exactly.
This is a very eclectic place.
Various trophy heads, including elk, buffalo, deer, and bear, observed as I took in the house. But some locals wonder if there's anything else keeping a watch inside the house.
You come to Banff and you think there's going to be beautiful views, you go on a hike, maybe do some cool shopping, but people don't expect ghost stories in a tourist town like Banff.
Maxine Bennett runs Banff Canmore Ghost Walks and loves sharing history through stories.
We're in the woods, we're isolated, alone. It already seems like the perfect setup for a good ghost story, but what else makes for a good ghost story?
For me, a big part of it is getting people into sort of the reality of the time, the place, the history that led to that ghost story happening.
Is it important that you believe in ghosts in order to get something out of the ghost tours?
As a person who doesn't believe in ghosts myself, no. I personally don't think it matters if you believe in ghosts or not. If you are someone who's really excited about getting to know the history, and folklore is such a good way of connecting with the people who have been here in the past and with what was important to them. That is such a great way of knowing what stories they wanted to pass on and what makes it to the present day. It's really an interesting way of being in the same place as people who were here before.
So, what about the Luxton home? Was it just the animal heads doing the watching?
Norman Luxton's house, we have a great story about it from a woman who used to clean there. Her second shift, which was also her final shift, she was scrubbing the floor in the kitchen. She knew she was alone in the place. She had let herself in, locked the door, turned the alarm off, and she kept hearing footsteps upstairs. There's a collection of dolls that's kept upstairs.
Getting even better. I love this.
I know,
Yep,
it's wonderful.
yep.
She gets up to the top and she looks and sees these line of doll eyes just staring at her out of the darkness. That is when her no kicks in, and she turns around really quick on the stairs, nearly falls down them, and hears this just roaring laughter from behind her, and decided that she was done. This was not the job for her after all.
I gotta admit, I'm glad I'm hearing these stories after my visit. Coming up, I work on my howl with a certain four-legged friend when we return to Postcards from the Rockies. You're watching Postcards from the Rockies. There's a perfect picture nearly everywhere you look in the Canadian Rockies. Glaciers, lakes, mountains, and forests provide endless options for the camera. But the most photographed mountain vista is likely the world-famous Lake Louise. The lake, framed by soaring glacier-topped mountains, has been a year-round tourist attraction since the late 1800s, and rightfully so. In the winter, the frozen lake is no less a destination, with many, like me, trekking across the snow-covered ice to bathe in the impressive scenery. There's even a portion of lake ice cleared to create a skating rink amidst this incredible winter wonderland. Was it cold? Yes. But was it worth it? Absolutely. Being outside in the wintry Rockies is deceptively quiet. You could almost be convinced that you're alone. But of course, you're not. While the bears might be hibernating, there's still plenty of wildlife out there. They just rather not be seen. Like the wolf. A mainstay of the Canadian wilderness, the Rockies contain protected wildlife corridors intended to reduce human-wolf interactions. And these shy wolves seem to prefer it that way. Unfortunately, some people crave wolves as pets and seek out the wolf-dog hybrid as a companion, with problematic and often tragic outcomes.
They are essentially a canine with a mix of wolf and dog that is done by humans intentionally, unfortunately.
Alex Harris is operations manager at Yamnuska Wolf Dog Sanctuary, which offers a forever home for these canines.
Currently, we have 33 wolf dogs that call the sanctuary home, and what we do is educate people about wolves and wolf dogs, what proper ownership would look like. These animals are generally intentionally bred as exotic pets, but they don't make the best pets in the entire world.
Because of the wolf content, I'm assuming?
Yeah, exactly. With the wolf content in a wolf dog, what we end up having is very instinctual behavior. So the more wolf content in that animal, the more they're going to behave like a wolf. So we don't get the best of both worlds where they look like a wolf and act like a dog. It is generally the more wolfy they look, the more wolfy they're going to act. So when people try and have these animals as pets and then realize, oh, I can't keep them anymore, people need to understand that that's a likely death sentence for that animal. So it's really important for people to know that there are very minimal places for wolf dogs to go. We are the only wolf dog rescue in Canada. And with that said, even throughout the US, there are other wolf dog rescues, but they're all at capacity just like we are.
At the sanctuary here, how are you caring for these wolf dogs?
What's really important to us is ensuring the wolf dogs have the absolute best lives they can possibly have. So we provide them with, most of our enclosures are around 2 acres in size. They have tons of trees and brush that they can kind of keep hidden. Some of our enclosures are even built away from the public pathways to ensure those animals have the privacy to make them feel comfortable. And then we just work with them on a daily basis.
Hi there.
This is Mako.
Oh, hi, Mako.
Mako's not kind of your typical low-content wolf dog with how confident she is, but she does really like to be pet and say hello to people, and she's quite a sweet girl.
I can tell, you know, I'm just giving her all sorts of scratches. She's sitting down.
Yeah.
Seems like she's enjoying it. Are there any spots in particular that she enjoys?
Pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
Walking around the sanctuary, it's fascinating to see the wolf-like behavior, especially among the higher wolf content canines. It's an incredible opportunity for visitors and staff, one that Alex appreciates.
this is pretty surreal. Not everyone gets to do this, especially given the fact of how shy and timid these animals are. It takes time to get to the point where you can even remotely touch them, let alone give them a belly rub or really thoroughly pet some of these guys. So yeah, definitely surreal would be the word that I would use, and just really grateful that I get to have these bonds with these really incredible animals.
It was hard saying goodbye to Moko, but I had to move on. The mountains were calling to me. Well, specifically Banff's Sulphur Mountain. And there's only one way to the top, the Banff Gondola. It's an 8-minute ride sailing over treetops and rising nearly 700 meters to the summit building and viewing platforms. I had perfect timing, arriving during the stunning sunset and braving the freezing cold wind to take in the gorgeous panoramic views of the Rockies. As the sun set, another spectacle began. Nightrise is an interactive audio-visual experience that transforms the summit. I once again defied the cold as I hopped, shuffled, and enjoyed playing with the interactive lights, projections, and audio, meant to evoke the sense of cosmic rays. I once again defied the cold and checked out the outdoor installation of interactive lights, projections, and audio, meant to evoke the sense of cosmic rays. I was more than happy to get back inside and investigate the various indoor art installations as well. Whether contemplating the projections on screens or letting the lights wash over me as poetry played in the background, there was definitely a sense of timelessness to the experience, one unique to this mountain. There's only one way to end a night like this: a nice drink and a meal at the aptly named Sky Bistro.
I can just tell this is going to be delicious. Smoky old-fashioned, yes please. Now to try a wing. Okay. Oh, it's juicy, moist. I could do this again.
From the mountaintop to the caverns below, we'll squeeze into the Rat's Nest Cave when we return to Postcards from the Rockies. This is Postcards from the Rockies. The diverse landscapes of the Canadian Rockies call to those seeking adventure. The mountains, forests, lakes, and rivers offer an array of challenges for outdoor enthusiasts. Still, it takes a particular type to see a cave and ask, I wonder what's in there.
I wanted to learn a little bit about what was underneath my feet, and learn a little bit about why the mountains are there and how they got there.
Brent Arnold is a guide with Canmore Cave Tours, and he's going to be taking me into the Rat's Nest Cave.
Hi guys.
A large cave system close to the town of Canmore. But first, to get to the entrance, we'd be hiking partway up the mountain.
We actually gain about 200 meters of elevation gain and about 1 kilometer to get up to the cave entranceway.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so it's definitely an uphill hike. But at least today we get excellent views with the snow and the clouds rolling over the mountains.
I'm definitely grateful for these hiking poles because it will make a big difference.
Yes.
Brent followed the snowy trail, and I followed Brent, keeping my limited field of vision fixed on his footpath and listening to his guidance.
Just be careful here. There's a few rocks hiding underneath the snow.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up.
We were getting close to the final stretch.
So Alex, we're very close here. We're only about 7 minutes away from the cave. We're actually standing on top of it here. So if you were to dig about 50 meters through the bedrock, you would hit the Grand Gallery, the room you could fit 3 semi-trucks in. But up a little bit higher, we're going to be entering into the canyon. So we're going to be putting our helmets on just for the last little section.
Sure.
And then we'll get up to the cave entranceway.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Excellent. Let's head on up.
We put on helmets to protect us from falling ice as we made our way through the canyon. Soon enough, we were at the entrance and put on our cave exploration outfits, which Brent detailed for me.
Underneath everything right now, you're wearing knee pads and a harness. The knee pads, for obvious reasons, we're going to be doing a little bit of crawling. The harnesses for clipping onto ropes inside the cave, there's going to be some sections that were close to some drops, as well as for the rappel. And then over top of everything, we have the coveralls, and that's exactly what they say. They cover all, so they're going to protect everything underneath it while we're going down. And then lastly, the helmet and the light. You can kind of cave with none of the other stuff, but that light on your head is the most important thing, because down in the cave, it is absolutely dark. Even night vision goggles don't work down there.
Now, Brent, I got a rope coming out from my coveralls that's attached right now to the pocket on my chest. What is this rope for?
Yeah, so that rope's called a cow's tail, and it's basically to attach to the ropes inside the cave, so that when we're next to drops, even if you wanted to go down the drop, you cannot.
Now, the name Rat's Nest, not exactly the most enticing name for a cave. Should we be expecting some furry critters in there?
Oh, so there's absolutely rats in the cave. We're probably not going to see any. They're pretty shy animals. They're probably going to be hiding behind their nests, but we'll definitely be seeing their nests up there in the entranceway.
Now, when I'm physically going down there, like, what should I be watching for? How should I be kind of making my way through the cave?
Yeah, so throughout the entirety of the cave, it is carved by water flow, so it's going to be slippery. There's going to be some patches which are a little bit wet. So staying nice and low to the ground, sitting, crawling, using ropes to climb down. Yeah, but staying low and moving slowly through the cave is what we're going to be doing.
I can do that. That sounds like it's a comfortable spot for me to be in.
With the orientation finished, I made my way up the rocky slope to the cave's entrance. Once we squeezed inside, you could feel the air warm up as the cave keeps the same temperature year-round, roughly 5 degrees Celsius. We used the safety lines to clip into the ropes along the side walls of the cave, slowly making our way down a steep slope into what Brent calls the bone room.
For this next section, it is a little deeper, so we're just really holding on to that orange rope.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Moving our feet down. Perfect.
Yeah, you weren't kidding. It's steep.
Yeah. It definitely goes down. It gets even better on the way back up, Alex. Perfect, Alex. And actually right here, now we've reached the bone room. We're going to be detaching from the rope here.
Okay.
And we will be continuing through the cave unroped for this next section.
Brent busts out a sampling of animal teeth found in the cave.
Personally, one of my favorites, which is this one, which is probably a bear incisor.
Interesting.
So the spiky bit is actually the root of the tooth, and then this at the top of the tooth is the incisor, so the more cutting tooth.
Right.
Yeah, probably from a grizzly bear, maybe a black bear, but we also have the short-faced bear bones down here, which is a prehistoric bear. It used to eat grizzly bears.
After a brief rest, we got back to exploring, and eventually met up with a 20-meter plunge, a drop we'd be rappelling down.
When we're going down here, we're going to be doing it on 2 separate ropes. There's going to be the rope you're attached to, and that's the one that you're rappelling on, that is actually you are in control.
Right.
The second rope that is attached to you is going to be the rope I'm in control of. And if I feel like I have to help, or you're going too fast, or anything at all happens on the rappel, then I can help while you're going down as well.
Okay.
So when we're going down, we want to stay in a seated position.
Right.
So our feet are flat on the walls in front of us, and at least a shoulder width apart. So we have a good, wide, stable stance, so we're not swinging from side to side.
Sure.
And we're just slowly letting that rope slide through our hands.
Jeez, here goes nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, really leaning back though. Yeah, just like that, because this wall is very slippery.
Yeah. Oh.
There we are.
Speaking of which.
Yeah.
I took my time and completed the descent, thankfully in one piece. After unclipping, we continued to crawl and butt scooch our way through a few different passageways.
I kind of feel like I'm Gollum, actually, when I'm down here. Kind of skulking around.
The graceful cave climbing exploits of Alex.
We eventually found the Grand Gallery, the largest known space in the cave, big enough to hold 3 semi-trucks. A welcome relief from the cramped quarters we had been through. Just past the gallery, we descended into the lowest room, the grotto, about 55 meters below the cave's entrance. A space that had the appearance of being sculpted out of mocha.
What we're looking at here is a bunch of our cave formations down here. Basically what's happened is the water is dripping through the limestone and it's absorbing the limestone, the calcium carbonate. And then when it comes into the oxygen-rich environment of the cave, it releases the calcium carbonate here on the walls, and we call these stalactites, stalagmites. These ones are called draperies and flowstone and soda straws and all the different cave formations. Down in the grotto here, it's actually taken about 1 million years for these cave formations to form. They form at about 1 inch every 300 to 1,000 years.
It's hard to wrap our minds around the vastness of geological time. But ours, I understand. And I was surprised to learn that we had spent a good few hours in the cave.
Brent, thank you so much for taking the time to take me along and open a whole new world for me. I'd never done anything quite like this.
Oh, please, Alex, you're very welcome. I hope coming down here has really opened up the whole subterranean world to you and really makes us wonder what's underneath our feet when we're on top of it.
Absolutely. Now I'm gonna have some bumps and bruises. My butt's probably gonna be very sore tomorrow, but I just have one key question. How do we get out of here?
Our exit, of course, was never in doubt. And soon, we were back out into the cold mountain forests of the Canadian Rockies. Coming up next, from descending into a cave to climbing a frozen waterfall. Does your humble host survive? Find out after the break on Postcards from the Rockies. This is Postcards from the Rockies. The breathtaking and majestic mountain rock faces of the Canadian Rockies are enjoyed by millions of visitors annually, thanks to the many viewpoints that dot the highways. So it can be easy to forget just how inhospitable the Rockies could be to human traffic. Of course, Indigenous peoples and early European explorers made the journey, but it was a serious task. The Transcontinental Railway, however, changed all that. And soon trading, tourism, and mining sprouted wherever the railway went. Towns like Canmore, once a busy mining town, are now filled with resorts and restaurants. Whereas in the past, companies sent crews into the mountains in search of resources, today, businesses serve customers in search of adventure, no matter the season.
I brought you up to Grassy Lakes. It's a wonderful spot just above Canmore, Alberta. And the venue that we're at today, ice climbers lovingly refer to as the Junkyards.
Today, I'll play the role of the fearless adventurer, while James Walter from UNESCO Mountain Adventures will be my instructor and show me the ropes, quite literally, to ice climbing.
The running water that you're hearing is coming from up behind us, where there's more volume and the turbulence prevents the water from freezing. However, the flow just behind us, if you were to come here in the summer, it's barely a trickle running over the rocks, and that slow moving water freezes up and turns into these awesome structures that we're going to play on today. You got to do something with your days, so why not strap a bunch of sharp things to your hands and feet and try and get up them.
Speaking of sharp things on our feet, can you kind of walk through a bit of the equipment we're using for ice climbing? Because it is different than rock climbing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. From the top down, we've got our helmets on, and that's going to help protect us from any little bits of ice that we break off the waterfall while we're climbing. We have our harnesses so that we can securely attach ourselves to the ropes and then to the mountain. I'm carrying ice screws, which are these tubular screws that can get twisted into the ice, and they provide secure anchor points for our rope. And then down on our feet, we've got the rigid mountaineering boots, complete with crampons. And so these ice climbing crampons have typically 12 points on them. They're about 2 inches long each, and a couple of points that stick straight out in the front so we can toe into the ice.
And so that's where, when we're actually climbing, we jam our feet forward, and so the spikes will stick into the ice wall?
Yeah, so with kind of just stomping or setting our feet a little bit, we can penetrate into the ice and get purchase.
Aside from the crampons on my feet, the main tool I'll be using is a pair of L-shaped ice picks, one for each hand.
You'll see right down at the bottom, there's a sharp spike.
Okay.
Right? And we use that when we're walking along on snow or low angle ground. Okay. We can hold our axe like a cane and get purchase on the ice that way. But typically when we're waterfall climbing, we hold on to this rubberized grip down here with our hand right down at the bottom. Swinging from here, we have the pick, which goes into the ice.
Yep.
While you're climbing, I'm going to have you secured to one end of the rope, and then the rope goes up and it passes through the anchor that I built earlier, and then I'll be securing the other end of the rope by belaying off my harness. And so every time you move up and generate a little bit of slack, I take that slack out of the system, and that minimizes any distance that you could fall.
Well, I like the sound of that. With ice picks in hand, James shared a few tips as I started up the crystalline blue ice sheet.
While you're climbing, most of the work is done with your feet. Right? So if you look at your crampons, you're going to have 2 points in the front that are painted orange on yours, and then the second row of points. And we want to be kicking those straight into the ice, and then keeping your boot level so that you have a nice flat platform to stand up on.
Okay. I'll give it a try.
Give that a go.
Stick it in.
Yeah. And you can kind of, claw your way along the low angle stuff with your ice tools. Perfect. Just like that.
Okay.
And I've got you on belay here.
Okay. And away I go.
Nice work.
Thank you.
And now, as things are starting to get steeper, you can grab the axe from the handle and start swinging the picks in.
Okay.
And we're always trying to swing our next tool higher than the last one.
Okay. You weren't kidding about the chips coming away.
Just part of the game.
Getting a faceful. Oh.
This was a real workout. Ice climbing requires patience and attention to detail. Just focus on your technique for each step, and eventually you'll get to where you want to go, which in my case was the 30-meter elevation mark.
Nice work.
Thank you. I call this a victory. Woo! Victory!
Ice climbing was great, but also difficult and tiring. It's a reminder that the Rockies, in all their majestic beauty, can be harsh, inhospitable, and even dangerous. They will test you physically and mentally and spit you out if you're not careful, leaving bumps, bruises, or worse. Each mark serves as a badge of honor, a memory of an unforgettable experience. As I came to discover, while the winter weather may be biting, the people who call the Rockies home love it and are more than happy to share that passion with others. After testing myself against the stone, ice, and snow, I'm beginning to see what makes this place so special and why I will return soon to test myself again. Host Alex Smyth, producer and director Amit Tandon, videographer and editor Sergio Vera-Hona, media accessibility specialist Ron Rickford, audio post Mark Phoenix, graphics Mike Smith, senior producer Michelle Dudas, president and CEO David Arrington, copyright 2022 Accessible Media Inc.